The Board of Trustees of the Lamar Consolidated Independent School District is called to order at 5:32 p.m. This is a public hearing on the names for new elementary schools, middle school number 6, junior high school number 7, and high school number 7, held on March 22nd, 2022. We have a quorum with all members present. Dr. Nivens?
All right, Madam President, thank you for that. I will ask Ms. Sonia Cole-Hamilton to come to the podium, do some introductions, and get us started.
There you go. Board of Trustees and Dr. Nivens. So tonight we're here to discuss the naming of the new facilities. We received more than 650 submissions in all during this process, and several of them were duplicates. So we whittled that 650 down to about 70 names. And the trustees received these names broken down by campus type. And again, this is to name 6 campuses, 3 elementaries, a new middle school, new junior high school, and a high school. And so the trustees received the names broken down by the various campuses that we intend to name. So tonight we are hosting a public hearing, and trustees, you all will have the opportunity to hear community feedback. You'll have the opportunity to review the submissions you've already received, consider the community feedback, and then submit your individual selections by this Friday. And then next month, you have the opportunity to consider names for possible approval. So just a special note for this evening, we received the comment card submissions prior to the start of the meeting. We stopped receiving cards about 5:25 p.m. to give us time to organize them. And in the interest of equity, individuals may not be called to speak in the order of their arrival or submission, but rather to ensure that you hear from each of the nominees. We're going to mix it up unless some have chosen to consolidate. And so just from my glance of the 10 speakers we have this evening, it accounts for about 6 nominees. Ms. Johnson will explain the process, and then we can get started.
Members of the community wishing to share comments on their nomination must have completed a public comment form and turned it in no later than 5:25. While speakers tonight will have 5 minutes to address the board. If 2 or more individuals are speaking on the same nominee, the district has strongly encouraged speakers to consolidate to allow for more time on that nominee. However, multiple speakers on a nominee do not increase the nominee's chances of being selected for campus. While the board values hearing from members of the public, trustees may not respond to comments. Please state your name when you come forward. And our first speaker tonight is Billy Atkinson.
You can all hold your applause till I'm through. First thing I want to say, I've got the full 5 minutes because I'm the only one speaking on behalf of Dick and Marianella Haygood, who both taught me. And I didn't like it at the time, but I do now. I want to thank y'all for being elected school board members. You got to be crazy to do this. And I've chaired the Board of Accountancy during Enron in Austin, and I chair the Texas Public Finance Authority now. I'm in my 12th year. And I know some of the trauma that you go through, but it can be nothing like being on a school board during a pandemic with all the priceless issues you have to deal with, human lives and the like. And I respect your willingness to serve, not to mention the breadth of the issues you have to deal with, as I mentioned. Again, my name is Billy M. Atkinson. I was born in Poly-Ryan Memorial Hospital in 1950. I live in Sugar Land now. It was closer to work before I retired, and I'm just too poor to move now. It just costs too much. But thank you for the opportunity to speak at this hearing here today. I'm aware you have many nominations for naming schools here. You have in the past. I've spoken before you in the past for other nominees, and you've always done a good job, I believe. You have a lot of balancing to do, and I respect that. This is a big responsibility, and I recognize that. I'm here to speak in support of Lamar Consolidated Independent School District naming a public school in honor of James, Richard, Dick, and Marianella Haygood, a family of teachers. I'm a proud son and product of the community, as I mentioned, and I graduated Lamar Consolidated in 1968. My wife attended Lamar schools through about the 5th grade, and my 2 children graduated from Lamar Consolidated High School. In 2018, my class of 68 celebrated our 50th class reunion for those of us who are left, and we celebrated our lives, our youthful years spent together as classmates, and most of all, our teachers, who after 12 years put up with us, educated, molded, and profoundly influenced our minds in preparing us for life. There's many good people nominated here tonight, and I speak against none of them. The 600 or so names you got, or the 70 you've got it whittled down to this time around. But I appreciate their respective contributions, and indeed, this board's done a good job of naming many schools, as I said said earlier in the past, for the district, of many noteworthy individuals. I know both the Haygoods and their family for all my 71 years as a fellow church member, First Baptist Church in Rosenberg, where I grew up, and they as teachers here. Dick Haygood taught me the 7th grade Texas history and was always at our school sporting and other organized events. He coached and he also taught history. Very influential on me. He also taught me Sunday school. He always made you think. She, Marinella, was an art teacher as well as an English teacher, and she organized the art club here at Lamar Consolidated as well as the English writing club. I still never use the word "that" in a sentence that she taught me. Don't use that. It's not necessary. I have several of her original paintings that I cherish to this day. To me, they represent and remind me of the positive impact that the teachers had on me, as well as my children, who likewise experienced the Haygoods teaching and support my comments. I called them, made sure they supported my comments at my advancing age, and with my pocketbook, I knew they'd agree with me. The Haygoods also raised a good family with their daughters here today, who are all still active in their own ways in our community. As you'll hear from others, I'm sure the integrity, honesty, and respect for the school district and students was always consistent and at the highest level among all teachers, not just the Haygoods. Further, their high morale, their high moral character and demeanor, both in and outside school, were always evident and unblemished. They came to events, as you would expect, and as you've all seen in your lives. They obviously loved their church, their family, their community, their schools, their state, their country, and as teachers, they were exemplary. Indeed, we can all reflect on teachers who really made a difference in our education and development. The Haygoods certainly represent that to me and my family. No one in business, government, or any other aspect of our society can dispute the importance of teachers to our collective well-being. As you each consider the many issues we have in this world, and there's many, country, state, community, and yes, even this school district, I propose a significant thought for you, teachers.
Thank you.
Thank you
Your
for your
time is up.
time.
Yeah,
I'm through.
thank you.
Our next 2 speakers have consolidated Toni Gilmore and Norman Sterling.
All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Toni Gilmore, and this is Norman.
Norman Sterling.
All right, we're going to watch this time. All right. I'm here this evening to speak on the nomination for Ms. Viola Gilmore Randall. Her influence went far beyond borders of Fulshire and Fort Bend County, and she really made a difference in our community. Her love for Fulshire and its progression was second to none. She loved her city. She was also influential to youth and never passed up the opportunity to help those on their journey. Her journey began as a sharecropper in Fulshire, Texas, and from there she built not one but 2 businesses from the ground up. Her legacy is implemented in the hearts of everyone in our community of Fulshire and throughout the county as well. She has manuscripts in the Fort Bend Black Heritage Museum in Kendleton, Texas as well. She has awards from Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, as she served as a trailblazer for black mayors. She was the first black mayor of Fulshire, Texas, the only black female mayor in the city's history. She really left an impact on my life because she helped raise me, taught me, behave well, do well, always stand for right. As she would always say, keep your nose clean, never get in any trouble. Though she never served on an educational board, she left an impact on everyone around her. Given the time era in which she served, when there was discrimination racially as well as towards women, she was a phenomenal champion in my life. And so as you guys consider schools going forward, we ask that you consider her and her legacy throughout this area.
I agree with everything that Tori just said. If you were to Google Viola Randall Fulshire, you will find numerous articles about her. She was very popular in the city of Fulshire. She served Fulshire in many ways. She always had these euphemisms and cliches that she wanted to make sure the community was better than when she left it. So when she left this earth, she lived to be 96, and there were 4 generations. My mom is here. I'm one of the generations, and my son. So she taught us a lot, as Tori indicated, about life. Education was important, and also hard work. She believed that if you were to succeed in life, education was one of the pillars that you needed to have. But she also realized that not everybody would seek higher education, so she was an advocate of people getting vocational type skills to help them in their life to build a better life. And so that was one of the things that she often said, either you get it in your head or you get it in your hands and your feet, meaning you go to school, get that education, or you make sure that you build a trade and work extremely hard to make a life better for yourself and the community. She always served her community and wanted to make sure that she made a difference in her community. She raised money to start a life center and build a park for the community. And she made sure that, again, she wanted to leave a legacy. She was active in her church, and she was very faithful. And that was one thing that she believed in. God answers prayers, and through God, all things are possible. And we need some of that back in the schools. And we need to teach our younger generations about some of these traditional life skills. Get off the computer, get off the Apple phones and that sort of thing. We need to reconnect with each other. The past 2 years, during the pandemic, we lost a lot of that people and human connection. And that was one of the things my grandmother always talked to us about, family and the values. And again, we thank you guys very much for considering her for the school nomination.
Thank you. Perfect timing, Joe.
Okay, our next speakers have also consolidated Amy Morales and Shane Baker.
Good evening. My name is Shane Baker. I work with Catholic Charities. I am the outreach coordinator for the food services at Catholic Charities. I've had the honor to work with Jean Tomas for the past 5 years. Even with an already very busy schedule, Jean generously volunteers his time at our food pantry every single week and has been a tremendous asset. Not only does Jean go out of his way to assist the clients and my entire staff with anything that is asked of him, he actively searches out things that need assistance and takes care of them, and offers his assistance to anyone he encounters. Jean's generosity and love for his community are evident in each and every one of his actions. Throughout his tenure working at LCISD school system, Jean has fostered many relationships within the community. More of them you'll hear about tonight. He is well known and highly regarded by my entire staff and all of the clientele and volunteers that come through our community. Whether they be students of 5 years past, 10 years, or 20 years, they know Jean, they remember Jean, and he knows each and every one of them by name. Jean has a wonderful rapport and has clearly made a tremendous impact in the lives of these students who have worked with him. Gene's remarkable career accolades that you'll also hear about soon, the impact within his community, the dedication to the service of others, make him an ideal namesake. I cannot recommend his nomination more highly, and I am honored to know Gene.
Good evening. My name is Amy Morales. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on behalf of Gene Tomas. Mr. Tomas was my principal at Terry High School. My memories of him are ones I will cherish for a lifetime, not just me, but all the students he has impacted throughout his years in education. I will always remember him, how he would walk the hallways greeting and acknowledging everyone by their names, never forgetting to wear a smile. He was present at all of our school events and would exemplify the utmost school spirit. This holds true especially at our football games. It was at those games where you would find Mr. Tomas holding a huge letter D along with a section of a picket fence which symbolized defense. He would often stand with the football players on the sideline during the games to help rally the crowd. Another thing that I admired the most about what he did and continues to do this day is when he takes a local newspaper and cuts out the articles which mention any of the students past or present. He would place the clippings in an envelope, sign it, and personally deliver it to you. Until this day, if he notices my personal children in the newspaper, you can bet they will receive their copy in the mail signed by him, a tradition that I'll always cherish. One of my dearest memories that will forever live in my heart is when I was recognized by the student body as the Junior Duchess for homecoming. I remember receiving the news, but instead of being excited, I was unhappy and heartbroken. Unfortunately, I became pregnant by my junior in high school. I did not know what to do. All I knew was that I was not going to walk on that field as a pregnant teenager. I knew I could go speak to Mr. Tomas. Just like any other day, he had an open door policy to sit in his office. If a student needed to speak with him, he was always available. I walked in and sat there with him and cried. I was ashamed and embarrassed because I did not want to represent our junior class as a pregnant teen. He encouraged me and told me that he did not nominate me, my fellow classmates did, and encouraged me to walk out there on the field and accept the fact that whatever situation you were in your classmates overlook that and still see the true in you. He instilled in me lifelong lessons to always strive to be the best, no matter what obstacles or challenges life brings. During my time at Terry High School, he was recognized as the Region 4 Secondary Principal of the Year. Mr. Tomas, as a leader of our school, believed in us and instilled in us lifelong values that we'll take with us and share with our children. He truly deserved to be recognized, and having a school named on his behalf would be a great way to honor Mr. Tomas.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, our next speakers are Lila Shelton, Ashlynn Harris, Veronica, Melton, and Barbara Jones. Lexia, sorry. I'm so sorry.
Good evening, Superintendent Nivens, President Williams, and each of the distinguished board members. My name is Lexia Shelton, and I'm a freshman at Lamar School, where I am a Lamar Philly. I'm the great-granddaughter of Papa Willie Melton, sir. I'm here this evening expressing my support to name a Lamar Consolidated ISD school after my Papa Willie. All of my life, I have heard all the wonderful stories of my Papa Willie and the extraordinary life he lived by giving of himself and his own personal money to help others in his entire community, including Fort Bend County in the state of Texas. For instance, Papa Willie was blessed to be a huge landowner and industrious farmer. When Mr. Germany came to him to purchase land for Bay Bridge Christian College in Kendleton, Texas, Papa Willie was willing and sold the land for the college at a very reasonable price. Many times, townsfolk came to him for advice, financial loans, food, shelter, and other things they needed help with. He was always willing to help in any way he could. During the year of 1950, Papa Willie was fed up because he wasn't allowed to vote because of the color of his skin. He decided to do something about it. He started a movement that let all citizens in Fort Bend County and other similar situated areas the right to vote regardless of your skin color. That's my Papa Willie. Thank you for taking the time to hear me today.
Good evening, Superintendent Nevis, President Williams, and intimate school board members. I'm Ashlynn Harris of Kendleton, and now I'm living in Rosemary, Texas. I'm a graduate of Lamar Consolidated High School. I'm the proud mother of a son graduating from Lamar, and my daughter at Lamar High School as a Philly, and my little son at Westendorf Middle School. Tonight, I will be speaking on behalf of my great-uncle, Franklin Melton, of California, the last living child of my great-grandfather, Willie Melton. for he was not able to be with us tonight due to the weather conditions of the flight was canceled. These are the words he asked me to speak before you tonight on his behalf. Willie Melton was born November 8, 1900. He confessed hope in Christ at an early age under Reverend H.C. Cash Shaw at Little Zion Baptist Church in Pendleton, Texas. He graduated valedictorian from Powell Point High School and attended Prairie View A&M. He was married to the love of his life, Miss Carrie Craven, for 47 years. This union was produced 8 children, and they became productive members of society in the fields of restaurant, college administration, retail management, farming, school teachers, buildings, contractors, and aerospace engineers. He believed in education. Willie Melton led leadership roles in many organizations: Masonic Lodge, Roosevelt number 8, President of Fort Bend County NAACP, Fort Bend County Election Judge or President number 2, President of Board of Education of Pendleton ISD, Chairman of Democrat County Convention, Precinct number 2. Willie Melton also received many rewards, including selected honorary admiral in the Texas Navy. The Fort Bend County Law Library was just named after Willie Melton Law Library. The office of the County Judge of Fort Bend County proclaimed on February 22nd of 2022. Willie Melton Day. He was the president of Warren County NAACP. School children are impressed by their heroes. We must take care of provide school children heroes with time-honored embolism of wisdom, intelligence, and knowledge. My father was a hero. He inspired me to finish high school and complete my college education. This prepared me to become an aeronautics engineer. I designed complex systems for Apollo Moon program, Space Shuttles program, and the B-1B program. I credited my father with giving me not just wisdom, intelligence, and knowledge, but the demeanor to work in many diverse organizations. It gives me great pleasure to ask that my father, Willie Melton, may be placed on a school in the Lamar CISD. The sweetest lives are those to duty wed, whose deeds, both great and small, are close-knit strands of unbroken threads, where one embolism all. The world may sound no trumpet, ring no bells. The book of life, the slurring record tells. Elizabeth Barry Browning. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Beverly Richard. Oh, sorry. Oh, all the names were on one card. Were you guys not together? Because I just had one card.
When I was completing it, that's what I asked before, and you told me to put it all on that card.
So y'all are speaking separately?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
So of the 4 names that I read, 2 spoke together and 2 more speaking together. The second 2. I wasn't one. There was a minute left. Yes. 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 There's still whomever's speaking. Okay. There was still time left. Yes.
Good evening to Superintendent Evans, President Williams, and Vice President Hunt, and to the prominent Lamar School Board members. It gives me great pleasure to be here with you all this afternoon. My name is Veronica Melton Harris, and I am of Pendleton, Texas. I am the proud mother of 4 graduate students of Lamar CISD. I am also the proud grandmother of 4 graduate grandsons of Lamar CISD. Then that leaves me with 3 more, which one of the young ladies just spoke to you, Lexia, is my only granddaughter, and I have 2 more grandsons of Lamar CISD who even came with me today. So Lamar CISD is like a home or a family to me because I have had many of my own to come through Lamar CISD. Tonight, though, I come before you to speak on my grandfather's behalf and how we feel like he deserves to have a name on a school of Lamar CISD. My grandfather, Mr. Willie Melton Sr., was the greatest man that we knew. He was a provider, and he was a caring grandfather. very quiet man, but yet a very businessman. And he knew how to get things done. As a little girl, my sisters and I, when he came home from his busy day of whatever he's been out there helping others and doing, he would come in and sit in his big chair, and we would sit in his lap and brush his hair for hours as he closed his eyes, and I would always say he was meditating and relaxing. But my grandfather was a gentle man, but also a very productive man. Many times he's come, and then many of y'all might not know, but he was considered the watermelon king, who made sure the presidents had a watermelon every year. My grandfather loved people. He sacrificed his life for that. He sacrificed most of his earning, his resources, and to be what he was, which was the entrepreneur that God sent him here to be. And that was to help others, not to look for anything for favor. But his intent was to help other people, and that is what he did. He taught that in us. So we don't know anything about being prejudiced or being hateful for somebody. We were taught to love and to take care of others. And this is what our grandfather instilled in us. So my grandfather was a trailblazer. He was a problem solver, and he paved the way for other people to be where they are today. We thank God for that. So tonight, we want to take into consideration of naming our grandfather, because behind me is a whole crew of his children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, great-great-grandchildren that are with you tonight. Thank you for giving us this opportunity just to hear us. Thank you.
Good evening, Superintendent Dr. Nevins, President Williams, and each of the distinguished board members. I'm going to cut what I had prepared for you guys really short to get to the nitty-gritty. But to receive such a posthumous honor, one would have lived a distinguished and life beyond reproach, deemed to be a hero, a courageous civil rights leader, a principled person, a pioneer, a business person, a philanthropist, a convergent thinker, an historical figure, intelligent and charismatic. Superintendent and board members, I have just described Willie Melton Sr. For he embodied each of these characteristics and more. Any student will be proud to attend a school named in honor of Willie Melton Sr. Parents and community residents alike will be pleased to have a school named after a man with such esteemed character. If you had 1,000 people lined up tonight to speak about Willie Melton, if you read every written word about Willie Melton Sr., you would see the same characteristics, a true leader without a blemish. Thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Beverly Richard.
I am Beverly Richard, and I have with me for moral support my son, Luke. His wife is assistant principal at Bowie Elementary, and she is away at Holtzworth. And I have with me representing the other side of the family, Blanca, and she is my son Ryan's wife, and she is a third grade teacher out at Beasley. You might see something like this on my husband's headstone. Michael S. Richard, 1947 to 2021. 1947 and 2021 were key years in the life of Michael S. Richard, his birth year and the year of his death. But what happened in the time represented by this tiny little dash is what is most significant. Michael led a life of service to his community. He did not do this for glory or recognition, but to share his talents and skills to make our part of the world a better place. He served our country in the U.S. Army. He was assigned to the field artillery in Germany during the time of the Cold War. After his 2 years of active duty service, he continued on in the Army Reserves for several additional years as the war in Vietnam wound down. He served the city of Rosenberg as a councilman for 9 years. Michael also served on many city committees over the years, including committees that were focused on bringing downtown Rosenberg back to prominence, and a 12-year commitment to the city's planning commission. His service also included being a member of the Central Fort Bend Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors, the advisory board for Memorial Hermann Sugar Land Hospital, and proudly serving on the Leaf Board. He baked his famous Richard's crawfish cornbread for many years at Men Who Cook events in an effort to help raise funds and to better support LCISD teachers and students. Michael was particularly proud of his 11 years on the LCISD school board. 8 or 9 of those years, I'm never quite sure, he was board president. During his tenure, the school board was named Texas Honor Board. He loved School Board Appreciation Month, and the many student-produced gifts were proudly stored in his desk and discovered upon his death. Michael spoke no English, only German, when he came to the United States with his mother and stepfather. You might say that he was an English as a second language learner, like many of our LCISD students today. His first grade teacher saw a bright child who just did not speak English, and she made it her mission to see to it that his needs were met, just like LCISD teachers still do today. Michael coached soccer because they needed a coach, even though he had only seen 2 games in his life. He prepared for practice with his team by reading the coach's handbook and hoping to stay 1 lesson ahead of the kids on the field. He taught young boys and girls how to win and how to lose with grace. Remember that dash that I talked about? And that Michael lived a life of service to his community. I would ask that you consider naming a school for him. Thank you for your time this evening and for your service to our community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Terry Mason.
Thank you all for this opportunity to speak on the behalf of Mr. Gene Tomas. I worked with him for the last 23 years of my 37-year career as a classroom teacher. I was a Lamar junior high pony, I was a Terry Ranger, and a Foster Falcon, along with other members of his staff. Tonight I want to impress upon you the type of leader he was to us as our principal. I wish to emphasize that working with Mr. Tomas it made all the difference rather than working for someone. When working with him, we were guaranteed a partnership. He always had a plan. We knew what his plan was. He loves kids. He wanted to help kids. He loved teachers. He loves the community. He's in it constantly. Those of you who attend athletic events know how present Mr. Tomas is in the community. Like I said, he always had a plan, and he shared it with us as teachers. Students first. Inspire and challenge them. Develop their skills within our subject areas. Model, expect, and encourage positive character traits. Celebrate student successes, great and small. Celebrate with them. Be there for them. And most of all, have some fun. Partnering with Mr. Tomas as our administrator guaranteed us being valued, supported, appreciated, and encouraged. One of the things that I admired about Mr. Tomas the most was he wasn't afraid to ask for help when he felt like he needed it. He came to us, he'd ask us for ideas, certain approaches that we might use when we were with our students. It didn't diminish our thought of Mr. Tomas at all. In fact, it made us feel valued by him. He supported us by visiting our classrooms frequently, and especially if we had something special going on. It was a great opportunity for our kids to feel his enthusiasm for their successes and his celebration of them. Believe me, a positive view of a principal showing up in the classroom halls, cafeterias, bus porch, and extracurricular activities is a real plus in partnering with kids, parents, and teachers. The first to thank us, mentor, and encourage us was Mr. Tomas. 20 assistant principals mentored by him are now assistant principals, mentored by him are now principals, and 2 are serving as superintendents. He's been loyal to LCISD for 37 years. His leadership and team building skills continue to bring value to our LCISD community and to the community of students we serve. He's still serving LCISD. I talked to him yesterday. He's on the job after retiring. I'm here this evening to ask that you consider valuing, supporting, and celebrating Mr. Gene Tomas with a school that bears his name. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Tim Kaminski.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for allowing us to come and speak tonight. My name is Tim Kaminski, and you can probably guess who I am here to speak about this evening. I'm here to ask for your support in naming one of the elementary schools after my mother, Catherine Kaminski. Catherine Kaminski, or Miss K as she's known in the area, the other Miss K, is a graduate of Lamar High School. I don't think she would want me to tell you the year that she graduated, but it was a long time ago. She doesn't know that I'm here tonight. She doesn't even know that we have put her name up for nomination. And one of the reasons for that is how humble she is about the things that she's done within this community. For the last 40 years, Ms. K has owned and operated the Gingerbread House Daycare Center in Rosenberg. She has provided early childhood education to hundreds, if not thousands, of children in the Rosenberg and Richmond area. At the time when she opened up the Gingerbread House, this was back in 1982, there wasn't a whole lot known about early childhood education. And yet she felt like there was something that she needed to do. She had started working for the Texas Highway Department, and that was the first part of her career. But as her kids were growing up, she didn't feel like there was a place that was adequate enough to get them prepared for school. At that time, I was about to graduate. I graduated from Lamar in 1983. Her centers have been used as training grounds for countless high school students who were interested in someday becoming teachers. Many of those students went on to become teachers in the Lamar School District, and a few even became principals. In the late 90s and the early 2000s, Ms. K helped the Lamar School District develop the current concept of on-site elementary after-school programs, and to date continues to provide services to 4 of the elementary schools. Most recently, Ms. K completed serving 8 years as a trustee on this board. She served in capacities both as a vice president and a president. She has dedicated her life to the education of young children in this district and ensuring that the quality of services our children receive in the district will last for years to come. It is for these reasons that I humbly ask that you consider naming one of the new elementary schools after Catherine Kaminski. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Mike Orsax.
Before I speak about Jean, more on a personal level, it's so refreshing coming into a room and hearing nothing but positive about people. I mean, it's uplifting to hear about all the great people that are being represented here tonight. I'm going to give you time back, but let me, if I can, say something about Jean. I really have known Jean all of my life. We grew up in the big city of Ganado. Jean and I called it the gateway to the universe because, in effect, it is for both he and I. And I have a special relationship with him because when I was 4 or 5, our families were close. I got away from a family outing at the Navidad River, which separates Ganado and I went off and stepped in a hole. Jean happened to know that I was missing, and I was about 4 or 5, and he saved my life. So I guess I have a special connection with him. I am only one of thousands of people that would be happy and proud to stand here tonight to speak about Jean. Jean is the most unassuming, unpretentious. He's the opposite of attention seeker. Like one of the speakers says, he does it and goes on. He is so genuine, and I'm talking about these characteristics because when you name a school, you don't want to name it good old number 7 or good old number 140 like they do in New York City. There's a legacy that goes with that. Jean is 80 years old, and he's still subbing here in this community. He's been a principal for 29 years, 20 at high schools, and most of you are too young to remember this, but when he was appointed these principals in different places, he was appointed principal to right the ship. Kind of changed the course a little bit. That's part of Jean's legacy. He works so well with people. I know Miss Danzinger has known him for a jillion years. And Kay, if I say anything untoward, just say, no, Mike, that ain't right. Jean, to have a school named the Jean Tomas, and I think you might consider it a high school because he's been a high school principal for 20 years. But any school would be a blessing. Just like any of the people here tonight, any school named for a relative or a family member is a blessing. But I think it would be especially appropriate with Jean for the high school to be considered. If not, he loves kids, so elementary. Just having a school named for him is a great legacy, I think, for the community. I'm going to give you back the time. I want to thank you for your patience and listening. None of you seem to be tired of listening. I've picked probably over 100 juries in my life, and I can recognize tiredness, and I don't see any tiredness, and that's a reflection on y'all. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Johnson, are there any public comments? Well, let's see. I guess that would be it. We're good. Okay. So this completes the agenda items. The meeting is adjourned. It is 6:15 p.m.